It's been a while, actually. Probably the second episode of Nerds for Life SuperCoach on either YouTube or Spotify, whichever one you're listening to it. Today, I want to talk about something a little bit left of center, something a bit different to the regular, mid-prices versus primos versus guns and rookies kind of strategy. I want to talk about picking a guy who has a really good draw. A very good opening draw, but historically, will he be able to perform at the same level as his previous season? Now, before we kick off, I just want to say, please make sure to subscribe, give us a like, give us a comment. I want to hear what your thoughts are too. But also, whether you're listening to this on Spotify or YouTube, but also follow us on Nerds for Life SuperCoach. All the links to all the socials on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, all of them are in the description below, so you can find them there very easily, and then you can make sure you can keep up to date with all the pre-season news. There's still a lot of practice matches to come. Now, who I'm talking about today is none other than someone that's currently sitting in my team. As you can see, there's a little bit of blue there, and that is because Patrick Cripps is only got a 2% ownership currently. Massive, he had a decent season, 110.5. That's a really good result to the year, and his ceiling is huge. Historically has been a very good player. His breakout season was 2016, where he averaged 107.6, and from there it kind of continued. He had a down year in 17 due to injury, but still 97.7 shows his floor is pretty good if that's a down year. Season 2018, massive 119.4. 2019, 117.1. 2020, again, another injury-affected season, 97.5. Before 21, that was really bad too, actually. I don't know what. That was the year that he had that broken. He had that broken back or something, and he was being injected all year and was playing throughout with a back fracture. It was ridiculous. Carlton should never have let him play for the year. And anyway, so that score is not a reflection of his actual capabilities. 2022 was the first year he won his first Brownlow, 111.1. And then moving on to 23, again, 97.5. Was a little bit of a down year, but still good. Like, look at his ceiling, 153 as well as 130. Like, there's some pretty decent scores there. And then his second Brownlow year, which is 110.5. And you get to see, like, look at these numbers, right? 135 against the Tigers is great. Then he's gone on a, 6 tons in a row for a disappointing 68 against the Pies. But then he's, tunning up again. These 144 back-to-back scores are incredible. And there's a 99 sprinkled in there, 142. This is the kind of guy that just his ceiling, look, 68 is a pretty bad floor, but his ceiling is just so good. And in so few teams, and with Walsh not being 100%, and Chera, let's be honest, has an injury history, and with the games that Carlton's about to play, so remember, they don't have an early season bye, and then they come up against the Tigers first up, which is just insane. Look at his average against the Tigers, 108.8. Then the Hawks could get a tag, but let's be honest, if Walsh plays, it probably will be Walsh. He's got a really good record against the Hawks. The Dogs are not a team that he scores well against, but the Pies don't typically tag. West Coast he's got a ridiculous average against as a career average. Then he's got North and Geelong, who should be good opponents. Adelaide don't typically tag. St Kilda, and then Sydney. That wraps up his first 10 games. Now, in his first 10 games, I could see him genuinely tunning up on at least 8 of those games, if not 9. And that is why I'm considering a Carlton mid. Now, all of those are most of those are winnable games for the Blues as well, provided they don't keep getting injuries. GWS and the Essendon, I'm surprised that he doesn't have good results on average against them. But then he plays West Coast and North again. It's just the opening 15 rounds are just fantastic. I just see him just having a pretty good. I can't see him averaging below 105 in the first opening 15 games, unless he gets injured, of course. And if it wasn't for Walsh being injured, I probably would be selecting Walsh myself. He's only, 12k lower, but again, injury cloud at the moment. But what I'm getting at is, can we expect Patrick Cripps to have a season like he did last year. I want to see historically what other Brownlow medalists have done. So Patrick Cripps won a Brownlow in 2022. Okay? And then I think we touched on this just 2 seconds ago. He won a Brownlow in 22 where he scored 111.1. His 2023 season was a 97.5. So we've already got one player that does seem to have a dip after their Brownlow year. This is the list of Brownlow medalists. Thank you, Wikipedia. Lucky Neal. So Lucky Neal won a Brownlow. His first Brownlow, where was it? It was 2020. So let's go to Neal now. Okay. Lucky Neal won his first Brownlow in 2020. Now I know 2021 was a down year for him, but I just want to show you what it was. So 2020 he averaged 134.4. Big numbers. Big numbers. Started the season, I think, in the 700Ks. But watch what happened in 2021. He started the season priced at 721K and he ended the season almost 250K cheaper. It is insane. He only averaged 99.8. Now, he did have an injury-plagued year. As you can see, he only had 2 really good scores, and then outside of that, he just kind of didn't really do much. Now, it was an injury-affected season, so it's not a great indication of what someone's expected to do after a Brownlow. But thus far, we've seen 2 Brownlow medalists have a dip in the year after they've won a Brownlow. Now, 2024. So he won another Brownlow in 2023 where he averaged 110.4. Had a really good season. Probably not as good as some others, but it is what it is. And then 2024, he comes back and actually goes higher and better. So far, we've seen 3 Brownlows won, arguably, obviously, well, 4 Brownlows technically, by 2 players, and have had vastly different seasons. So apart from the injury-affected 2021 season under Lucky Neal, which caused his dip, Patrick Cripps didn't really have a reason for the dip in 2023, but there was a dip there. Meanwhile, Lucky Neal has gone from 110 average when he won his Brownlow to 119. So, as you can see, so far we've only looked at 2 players. It is possible for a Brownlow medalist to go bigger and better their following year after winning a Brownlow. Next, we have Ollie Wines. Now, this was a pretty big drop-off too, and I believe it was due to injury as well from memory. I'm trying to get no players found. Why are there no players found? Let's take a look, and of course. Alright, cool. So, we'll just filter it by name. Ollie Wines. There you are. So, Ollie Wines won a Brownlow. What year was it again? 2021. So, he won a Brownlow in 2021. And in 2021, he averaged 112.5, and then in 2022, he averaged 105.5. Still a pretty good season. Still a pretty good year. He had a big ceiling game of 155. He had a couple of 120s in there, couple of 140s, or sort of a couple of 140s. So he had a really good year the following year. So if Patrick Cripps goes out there and averages 105.5 for the season, I wouldn't say that's necessarily a huge loss. Yes, at the end of the day, he did drop 40k, Ollie Wines. But that's not that bad. That's not that bad. If he ends up being your M8 by season's end, you haven't done too bad. And I don't really hate it, honestly. So if Patrick Cripps was to average that this season, and then have a few spike games sprinkled in there because of the opponents he's playing, I don't mind the pick, personally. So far we've looked at 3 players. And out of 3 players, 2 players have had, well, technically all 3 players, because Lucky Neal had a dip after winning his first Brownlow and then an increase after winning his second Brownlow. You can start to see a trend here that out of the 3 players we've looked at, all 3 of them have had a dip the next year after winning a Brownlow. So, Lucky Neal, also, after having a dip, was the only one to so far have a rise after winning a Brownlow too. Now, Nat 5. Let's go to Nat 5. 5. This isn't going to work, is it? No. Why is the filter not working? The old Nat 5. 5 is life last year. It definitely wasn't. That was a mistake of a pick. But Nat 5 won his first Brownlow in 2015. So let's take a look at his 2015 season first, what he averaged. He averaged 124.3. And then 2016, He averaged 105.4. He did obviously have an injury-plagued season. So he was his average before he had that injury. Let's take a look. No, not 2024. 2016. He was averaging 118.5 before the injury-affected game against the Blues, but that was a really bad first game against the Dogs. But he kind of bounced back there, 157, 115, 141. Like, these are not bad scores. To average 118.5. So was on fire before the injury. So, but technically did have a dip. Then you got to look at, oops, got out of it. Then you got to look at his next Brownlow, which was in 2019. So what did he average in 2020? Whoop, sorry. 2019 he averaged 120. Pretty good season. And then as you can see, 2020 he averaged 113.2. So there was a dip again. As you can see, some back end of the season injuries and a couple of mid-season stuff too, which is a little bit concerning as well. But there was a dip. Pretty good scores though overall. As you can see, some massive 166s, a 143, 130, 132, 140. So like there were some pretty good numbers here. But as you can see, there was a dip. Now, obviously, Patrick Cripps averages 113. You've done well because he's actually gone up since his Brownlow year. But thus far, we're basically expecting thus far, almost every player that we've looked at has had a dip their next year. Now, yes, there have been some still good scores after their Brownlow year, but a dip nonetheless. Tom Mitchell. So Tom Mitchell won a Brownlow in 2018. So he's still in the AFL system. So let's take a look at Tom Mitchell. Let's take a look. Can't believe he's only $395K. So Tom Mitchell won a Brownlow in 2018, averaged 129.1. Massive. Now, I already know what happened in 2019 because I'm pretty sure that's the year he broke his leg. It was. He averaged 0. So technically he averaged 0, but let's not look into that too much because he did break his leg, I believe, in the preseason. So after he won a Brownlow, he didn't play a game. We're not going to take a look into 2019 because that's obviously a massive dip. But 2020, as you can see, so he's gone from 2018 averaging 129 to 2020 averaging 113.5. Still some pretty good scores. Like, Patrick Cripps averages 113.5. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. And there's some pretty good scores here. 164s, 143, 132, 130s. Like, there are some really good scores here by Tom Mitchell. And again, if you start Tom Mitchell and he averages 113.5, or Patrick Cripps, you've done well for yourself. So, but again, there's a dip, and it's a pretty serious dip. That's a 16 point on average season dip. So it's not; these aren't small dips. These are some pretty big dips, and I don't think there's anyone else left in the AFL system. But as you can see, there is a clear dip when it comes to every season after a player wins a Brownlow. The only player from between Patrick Cripps, Lachie Neale, Ollie Wines, Nat Fyfe, and Tom Mitchell, the only players who have won a Brownlow that are still running around in the... Oh, Patrick... Sorry, I did forget Patrick Dangerfield. Let's before I say this, let's go to Danger. I just want to say, I'm pretty sure Danger actually had a really good 20... He won a Brownlow in 2016. I'm pretty sure he had a good 2017 season too. Holy shit, 131.8 was his 2016 season. And 2017, 136? He went bigger? Wow, that's really... Wow, I wasn't expecting that. I genuinely wasn't expecting that. He went massive. That's fantastic. Alright, well, that changes things a little bit. So out of Patrick Dangerfield, Nat Fyfe, Tom Mitchell, Lachie Neale, Ollie Wines, and Patrick Cripps. It's 6 players that have won a Brownlow. Granted, 3 of them have won 2. So out of, I'm going to say 9 Brownlows. Out of 9 Brownlows won, the player that won the Brownlows has only exceeded their Brownlow year twice out of the 9 Brownlows won. So you heard, so that's what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is out of 9 Brownlows won, only 2 times has the player exceeded his Brownlow winning average the following season, which is Patrick Dangerfield and Lachie Neale. So it's only happened twice. The other 7 Brownlows won all dipped. So what I'm saying, and I know that history isn't necessarily an indication of future results, but what we can see here is that Patrick Cripps is more likely than not to have a dip in 2025. Now that's not saying that he's going to not average 100. I still think that, especially with this upcoming draw, that he should be averaging, at least he should be averaging 105. Like, I'm just going to show you this draw one more time. He's got, where are we? No, that's not it. Let's get out of this. Patrick Cripps, let's try it one more time. Season 2025. There we go. Season 2025. So he's got Richmond first up. I just want to show you his last 3 games against the Tigers. This is captain worthy. All 3 of those games are captain worthy, and Richmond's not getting any better. We're not getting any better. So I could see a big score like this again. So right off the bat, you could be VCing Patrick Cripps. Right off the bat. His next 3 games against the Hawks aren't the most impressive, but again, they're all tons. Well, at least two of the 3 are tons. And then his next three games against the Dogs aren't the most impressive either. There is that 60-point score at Marvel in round 20 in 2023. However, 162 against in 2022 is pretty impressive. But I just want to show you that apart from the Dogs, the Pies, he averages 104.9 against. And Collingwood don't tag. Now, I'm not necessarily saying the Blues are going to win this game, but they don't tag, which means Patrick Cripps, I could see him scoring 100 in this game as well. The West Coast Eagles, massive, 111.6. 111.6? Like, honestly, and he's only played 8 games. That's insane numbers. I can't see him not turning up against the Eagles or North Melbourne. Then you've got Geelong, another team that don't tag midfielders. And he's got a pretty good average there again. Adelaide as well, typically don't tag. St Kilda, he has a massive record against. Massive record. The Swans could be an issue, but I don't think that he's the one that receives the tag. Personally, by the time round 10 comes along, if Chera's still in the side, or Sam Walsh, they're probably going to be the ones that get the attention, not Patrick Cripps. Now, he doesn't have a great record against the Giants, and surprisingly not a great record against Essendon either, which is very surprising. But again, he plays West Coast and North Melbourne straight after that. So I just don't see him not scoring well. His first 15 games, he genuinely should be averaging over 105. And that is what I can see. Now, he's only 30 as well. He's not an old man. Now, the other option is you could go Walsh, but and Walsh was in my side throughout the pre-season, but because obviously he's got the same draw, but the injury issues that you get, far out, 148, God, Richmond's going to get absolutely slaughtered. But look at these scores as well, pretty impressive himself. Like, I don't know, you could go either one of these guys, but if you are considering Patrick Cripps purely because he is the safer option because he's not injured currently, do expect a dip. But I don't think it's going to be a bad season, personally. I think that you'll still be able... You might lose 30, 40k off him, but I still think that he's the kind of guy that's going to average 105 regardless. And honestly, expect a dip, but expect a good year still as well. That's my analysis on players that you can expect, on what you can expect from players the year after they won at Brownlow, based on some history. Please make sure to subscribe, give us a like, tell me what you think about this option, of course, in the comments below, and also follow us on all the socials, in TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, it's X now, Instagram, Facebook, I'm on all of those, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.